Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Paulette Rigo, and yes, I'm the host of the Better Divorce podcast. I'm often asked, what do we do about the house? Do I stay or do I go? So today, Kim Costa is here to help you with that dilemma. So grab your coffee, glass of wine, notepad, dig in. So Kim, thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me, Paulette. I'm happy to be here.
And we both live in the Atlanta area, so it's getting warmer. Exciting.
Yes.
I looked at the weather. It's going to be in the 80s, so I love that.
Yes.
Spring is
Me too.
almost here. And I had a difficult time figuring out where I wanted to live post-divorce. I had no idea. I'm originally from Boston. I'm allergic to snow, so I knew it wasn't Boston. I lived in Belize for 3 years and then made Atlanta area my home in 2016. And it was really hard. I didn't know what to do. We were renting an apartment. Actually, it was a shotgun house in Serenbe, but and most people don't know what a shotgun house is or what is Serenbe. But a shotgun house is 13 feet wide and 60 feet long, and lived in that for a year. That was kind of like, I used to call it glamping. We had like a loft and it was super fun, but I knew I needed a little bit more room and I needed a backyard and I needed water. So the checklist kind of bubbled up once I realized what I didn't need. A lot of stuff, and bad weather,
Mm.
traffic. I just wanted to feel a new chapter and be more connected to nature. I really missed that in Belize because we got so used to being out in the nature all the time. And when you grow up in the north and it's freezing, what do you do? But you stay inside a lot,
Yeah.
at least if you don't like cold weather. So I can relate to this dilemma a little bit, just my own dilemma. Now that we're in a home, I feel more centered. But how did you get into this work? Like, what makes you want to work with divorcing people? And also, everyone, she is a 5% realtor with Sotheby's International, so she can help you. And she's created the Wheelhouse Method. So before we get to that, what makes you want to work with divorcing people?
So I was divorced or was a divorcee and went through that period of my life when you did not have your podcast. I've searched and searched, and you know how like I would walk to kind of ground myself and think through things and get rid of stress because it's a stressful situation. And I would be looking for guidance. And I think I found one, maybe two podcasts. This was back in, I think 2000, it was 2012, 2013. So not a whole lot out there yet, but thank goodness
No,
for
there
people
wasn't.
like you. I would have just had you on repeat, you know. Think I would have listened to you over and over again until I had some answers. And so I
Me too.
really, yes, I'm sure a lot of people do. And it's just so helpful to have that guidance and someone that's gone before you. And I really want to help women reinvent themselves. I want to help people. Oftentimes, we as wives and mothers and career people give so much to other people. It's just innate in the way that we're made as women. And I want to help people reinvent themselves post divorce or during divorce, come up with a plan and a structure to take away some of that anxiety, to stick up for yourself, and to really find your authenticity on the other side of the process.
Stick up for yourself. That's
Mm.
the quote of the day. Yeah, that's a hard thing to do when you feel like you have been uh, making your decisions based on what everyone else needs
Mhm.
and making everyone else happy. And, not that you don't want to be happy, but it's prioritizing the needs of others, whether that be spouse, children, extended family, coworkers, work. There's a lot of demands in life, and divorce sort of makes you step back and say,
Mm.
what's next, right?
That's right.
It is true. I always I enjoyed helping people with their creating the next chapter of their life with the work I'd done
Hmm.
earlier. But it wasn't until I started doing this work that I realized the gravity of the importance of doing that work. You don't get a dress rehearsal at this. You get one shot at it. And once you walk out of that courtroom or you mediate and you've got your final divorce decree, you're flying solo, right? You're responsible for the next chapter of your life. We don't have anyone else. It's always nice if we have support, right? But it's not like mom and dad can swoop in and save the day, when you're a kid, and you don't have your spouse to rely on anymore. And it's not wise to rely on your children, but that could be another podcast. And friends sometimes take sides, right? And
That's right.
we don't always know who our friends are going to be. It's kind of scary, right?
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about this Wheelhouse Method. I'm dying to learn what it is.
Okay, great. So it is based on 8 areas of the wheel of life. And so the way that I came about doing this is I had a coach coaching me because I knew I was working in a family business as an accountant. Not what I preferred to do. I was changing my career, my marital situation, my living address, even my hobbies I was changing. And so I really wanted to base that on who I was innately. So I took a personality test and hired a coach who helped. I'm an ENFP, which is extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and perceptive, working as an accountant. So ENFPs are like the Mark Twains, the Charles Dickens, the Robin Williams, the Sandra Bullocks of the world. They're always telling stories, and they're fairly animated. And that's not really, an accountancy is not really what, ENFPs should be doing. So as I decided to change my life, my coach, who coaches ENFPs, used the Wheel of Life to guide me through life change. And, I wanted to change my career to being a real estate agent, better suited for me. And so I plotted so that my career was at a 2 as an accountant, and then finances were also going to take a hit as I ramped up on that. So as I went around the Wheel of Life, I discovered that it very much correlated to life change. And so my wheel of life changed as I made decisions, and also my home changed as I made those decisions. I downsized quite a bit to push the easy button, kind of like your shotgun home, a smaller, easy maintenance, transitional space that I could get back on my feet and be the real me again and decide what that looked like. So then when I became a realtor, I noticed I was categorizing people's moves into several of those 8 areas. And so I thought, this is probably a process for life change to create an environment that helped them become the person they wanted to become, or that they were becoming, and leave behind that old lifestyle. And so that's how I started.
It's brilliant. I forget exactly when I was introduced to the Wheel of Life, because there's the wheel of lots of things, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't know what it is, everyone, just Google Wheel of Life, and it's usually like a big pizza, and it's divided into 8 slices, and there's sort of a gradient, like a bullseye, and the idea is that all of your 8 slices of pizza or areas of your life are a 10.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be lovely, right?
Well,
so
yes.
You have,
That's the goal.
That's the goal, right? I didn't say it was attainable, but maybe at different parts of your life, maybe, I look at it. So, one would be family, one would be money, one would be, etc. And you can also change the pies. Like it doesn't have, there's no, law against what your pie is. So you choose your own pizza. You try, is it pepperoni? Is whatever. Is it vegan? Who knows? So you choose your slices, but it really helps you understand where you have holes, or missing pieces, and where you're focusing most of your time and energy, money, talent. And where you're lopsided, right? And feeling that. So for me, I believe it was Cheryl Richardson, her book, Take Time for Your Life. She's from Massachusetts. So I met Cheryl back in the day. She kind of invented life coaching with Louise Hay back in Hay House. If you know who Louise Hay was, she passed away a few years ago.
Yeah, lovely.
But it's such an impactful tool. If you haven't done it, homework assignment, everyone. And then it's an Enneagram, right? The little 4 letters. Is that what it is?
You
No,
mean for the four
that's
M's?
yes. What is that called when you have the E and the four
Oh,
letters?
that is the Myers-Briggs
Thank you. I
type
see.
indicator.
Myers-Briggs, right?
Yes,
There are so many of these
there are.
tests, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Myers-Briggs is one. Enneagram is another,
Hmm.
and that's a number. I used to think I was a 1, found out I was a 9. Who
Okay.
knows? And I think it might change and evolve as you also might change and evolve a little bit. That's not a fact. That's just a surmising of a witnessing of people going through this. But I
Yes.
went to Bali in 2013 with a large group of people with Mastin Kipp when I wrote a book, and he analyzed us all to death, and we did every single one of these tests. Not
Wow.
with him, but like with groups of people.
Yeah.
And it was a little overwhelming, but it was also 13 years ago.
Mm.
But I love the self-study. It
Hmm.
all boils down to self-study. Who
Hmm.
were you? Who are you now? And who do you want to be? Right?
Right.
It's
And
wonderful.
what things were you doing you didn't want to do because something wasn't working?
Hmm.
And what things are you not doing that you want to do? So let's really stop for a moment and pause during this situation and think about those things. And because you can have, with the freedom of being yourself, that alignment creates comfort and joy. And so that's kind of what the whole process is aimed towards.
Yes, I used to teach yoga teacher trainings, and that's all
Mm-hmm.
self-study. And
Mm-hmm.
I would always say, look to your right, look to your left. One of them will either be pregnant or get a divorce. And it was
Wow.
always right because I don't know, 80-90% of people that go to yoga teacher trainings are doing evaluating their lives,
Mm.
right? And so it's always very interesting in that too. So study is sometimes seen as an external thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to learn Spanish, or I'm going to learn how to bake sourdough bread, or I'm going to learn to play golf, or I'm going to learn mahjong, or whatever the thing of the day is. But in this world, it's inside out.
It
It's like
is.
it's studying yourself, not from a selfish, greedy, narcissistic mindset, but from one of shining a light on, again, just what you said, Kim, what works and what isn't working. And when I started to do this work way back in the late 90s, I realized a lot of the things in my life weren't congruent with that. It was shocking, upsetting. I kind of pretended everything was still fine because I didn't want to, make waves. The youngest child, but I so, kind of wanted to just make peace with everything. So it can get you into trouble when you feel like you're not, as you said, living authentically, right? It's, taking off that mask. You're making me reminisce a lot. Love it. So now she's also, everyone, the host of American Dream TV, as well as the Live Your Wheelhouse podcast. So tell us a little bit about that work because that's really exciting.
Yes, I love it because I get to talk to people about their specific situations. So the framework or the wheelhouse assessment covers all 8 areas, but people have their priorities. People have areas that they're directly focused on. So I love talking with people about their specific situation. And, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a financial analyst. I'm a generalist in all 8 areas. I have researched all of these areas quite extensively, and I can point to experts if there's really a problem. But I am really here to help you identify who you were made to be, what brings you joy in life, and then create an environment that supports and also represents that. When someone walks in your home, you want them to feel like, oh, this is so you. Like, I feel really comfortable here. I'm your friend, and we're going to sit down and have a cup of tea, a glass of wine, whatever it is. And like, I don't feel uneasy in this space because it completely represents you. I feel the peace here. There's some joy here. And then you share that with people. You share your real soul. It's like a home
Yeah.
as a representation of your soul. We kind of lose our souls sometimes when we get divorced. We feel kind of beaten down and exhausted and maybe disillusioned and full of grief occasionally when this happens. So it's about finding yourself again and having your soul represented in your home as you transition into a new part of your life.
Yes, I'm nodding and reminiscing if you're just listening to the audio. It's very interesting. I always feel not only can we lose ourselves because of divorce, it depends on the divorce and how long they take and how contentious they are and how much they cost and, all the different aspects of your particular situation, everyone. But I also see that we lose ourselves in our marriage. It's not uncommon to feel so wrapped up in the relationship or the family dynamic that we're busy, it's not a conscious thing. We don't wake up in the morning and go, I think I'm going to lose myself. I've never met anyone that did that, but we get so wrapped up in the busyness and the day to day and kind of fitting in the mold and getting along to, just get along feeling that I always ask clients, when they come to me, whether they're at the very beginning of contemplating divorce, should I or shouldn't I, all the way to, should I change my name? I had a client come yesterday and she said, I want to take my old name back. And I was like, great, we can put it in the agreement. They can't prevent you from doing that. And she was like, really? So, there's a lot to do. But I always ask, what do you want? And there's usually silence. They don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where this work comes in. Reevaluating yourself and reconnecting to a part of yourself that you may have lost during the marriage. And no finger pointing, no fault, no blame. It's just life, right? And now stepping back and saying, well, that's who I was. And I don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I still want to keep part of me that, feels like me. But what is it that I want to do that I've maybe never done? I took up golf last year.
Oh, good.
I know, shocking. I never thought I'd like it or be good at it, but so far so good. So now I want to talk about the book because Kim is also an author. And the book, of course, is Live in Your Wheelhouse, an empowering guide to stay, go, or reno. And it's coming out in March. Hey, perfect timing. So let's talk about the book and should I stay or should I go? Give me an overview of the book. What's it like? I want to get it.
Sure. Yes. Okay. So it's part memoir and really mostly nonfiction, just going through the frameworks of the Wheelhouse assessment. But it does talk about my home pre, during, and post divorce and how that changed. And the home sort of takes on a role of a character because as I had a serious accident at Clarity Farm where I used to live in northern Alpharetta in Milton. Back in the day, it was called Alpharetta, and now there's a new town called Milton, as they do. And so it was a beautiful horse farm, and I broke my back there and went back to writing as I was laid up at home and won the contest for Oprah Winfrey. So it goes through. And then I turned her down to come to my home to film the show, to come to my home to film. So it goes through that whole story and then what eventually happens to that beautiful home and how it coincides with how I divorced while the home was being torn down, unbeknownst to me, while I was getting divorced. And then I reinvented myself as a new showcase home appeared on that property. So it's just a really interesting story because the book is about the home as a representation of self and how that beautiful home went through the transition uncannily exactly at the same timing that I was reinventing myself. And it raised money for charity and all of that kind of thing. So it was like a God wink to me that, wow, I'm on the right track and turned the mess into a message. And, there was no denying that I needed to write this book, and it took me, 7 years to do it. But there was an absolute necessity to tell the story. And then the framework came out of the story and how I've reinvented myself and my home and really almost every aspect of my life. And so I wanted to share that framework, especially for divorced women. Your most prominently set up to help the people you once were. And so I feel that strongly. So there's some funny stories. There's some success stories about people going through the framework and fixing certain areas of their life. There are, they kept telling me you need to write more memoir in it. So it just tells the story of why each section did or did not fit in that home as a story to help people understand how to use the framework. Yeah.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
And there is so much attachment to a home in marriage and divorce, of the memories. And, this is where we brought the first baby home from the hospital.
Yes.
And this is where we took the Christmas picture. And this is where we had our first whatever,
Yes.
Raising a family together. And but homes also can contain negativity or memories of arguments or deceit or abuse, right? Neglect, and everybody's different. But, having the heaviness of what could have been and was, but also the promise of what you want to take with you, right? So I find that it can be very challenging to make a decision about the home. And because 85% of divorce involves the sale or purchase of real estate, nationally, it might shift a little bit here and there. That's a lot of people, Kim.
It is.
Right? So
It is.
if you're, and I just did a consultation before this, they own 24 houses.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. How do
So,
you divide
granted,
that?
that's a business, and that's also complex because it isn't just they don't live in all 24 of them. That would be very hectic, right? But they live in two, and then the others, and they're not extremely wealthy people. They're just very good investors, and so with that said, if there's one home, it can still be complicated. But imagine how it is if there are 24.
I can't.
So we get very clingy, right, to the sheetrock, I call it, right?
Yeah.
And it is hard to sometimes surrender and let go and accept that that may not be viable. We're not going to see 2.4% interest rates again, I believe. I could be wrong, but I do not believe that will happen again. So those people that have those very low pandemic mortgage rates are going to try to hold on to them until they either pay it off or sell the house or have to. But the rest of us, who go through divorce, it is a big decision. Does A stay and buy out B? Does B stay and buy out A? Is it deferred because of a high school graduation that might be coming up in the next, few years? Are we going to sell the home? Is it a rate and term equity buyout? Is there an assumption? Or are we renting? Are we nesting? As you can see, it's a complex situation. As a mediator, we kind of walk through all that. And it boils down to, what can you afford more than the sheetrock, right? We can find you another piece of sheetrock. But it is, it's not going to be the same, Kim, right? Yeah.
And for better or for worse, because, there, like you said, even the things in the home, you have to decide, am I going to stay, go, or reno? It's kind of like Marie Kondo meets Tony Robbins, the whole process. It's what parts of my life and my home do I want to keep? And it's just an assessment on paper that helps you with some structure to make big decisions about your next move. And one of the spokes is finance. The other is career. And I did just hear the nesting approach yesterday with somebody. And I had heard it once before, but I had forgotten about it. What a clever solution if you can afford to do the nesting
It's
approach.
very expensive for those of you like, what the heck is that? So you maintain the property or a property. Sometimes it's a rental. Right? And they both have their own, and sort of the kids stay in the nest, and A and B go back and forth. So the kids are with A, and then they swap. But they each need to have their own place. Or I have seen it done where there are two homes, and the kids go back and forth, but it's not. They're very close by. They don't
Yes.
feel there's not a big commute, and
On the same
that
street
can
or
be a little
whatnot.
bit different, and depending on
Yes.
the parents that have traveling schedules, so they try to
Sure.
be a little bit. But it can work, it depends on the ages of the children
I
too.
think so too. For a
You know,
shorter term, it seems to work better,
shorter
doesn't
term.
it?
I think it's a good interim solution for a bit, maybe a year as
Yeah.
a transitional period. Look at it, read it about it, everyone. You might like it, you may go, that's crazy. But
That's
anyway,
not going to work.
everybody's different. No judgment from me. I don't do that. It's an interesting concept. There's more. I have a little sign here. It says everything is figure outable.
I
It
love that.
is figure outable.
Yes.
It may not be your ideal scenario, and sometimes it is cost prohibitive, but anything is worth it if you can divorce with wisdom and grace and dignity instead of 8.5 years of court and legal bills and
Yes.
letting a judge decide. It's not fun. So, what is the best way for people to find you when they're in the term, in the, this period of time where they're trying to figure out what to do with the house? And do you do consultations if they live outside of the Atlanta area for this? Educate us a little bit. Obviously, I know you're a realtor and would love to help people find their new property or sell something. But as far as you being more of like a resource, of being an author and an expert in this, what's the best way for people to learn more about you in a book and maybe work with you and help them work through the emotions?
Well, so, the book will be coming out in March, but I will also be running workshops. And I would love to run a specific workshop for divorcing people, or soon after or soon before, in the process of, or just getting through, to provide some clarity. Because the stay, go, or reno part isn't just about the home in the book. It's about just your life in general. And your home is just mirroring that. And so those are the decisions people need to make. And so you can find me on Kim E. Costa on all the socials. And then my website that'll have the workshops and the book information is lifestylefoundations with an S.com. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I learned a lot. That was fun. I hope you did too, everyone. Thank you, Kim. I'm glad we found each other. Or glad you found me.
Yes.
And we should get together soon. And I would love to actually have your book on Better Divorce Academy's website book resource page, because I think it's an excellent tool for people to have. That house is a big problem.
Yes.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for being here, everyone. Until next time, you know me, how to find me, betterdivorceacademy.com. And reach out, shoot me an email, Paulette at betterdivorceacademy.com. Don't go it alone. Please avoid court. Please save all unnecessary legal fees. Please keep your private life private. And make sure you divorce better. So until next time, I'll see you soon.